Hey, it's Todd Ault, and welcome to Risk On. This is Todd Ault again, Jason Bartholomew. So this is our first show. It's February 1st. We decided to kick it off February 1st for a reason. And obviously the first 15 minutes of Risk On, we update the market, things we see moving. I'm a 30-year plus Wall Street veteran, been doing this a long time, CEO of a public company at NYSE American, Ault Global. And Jason Bartholomew is a professional poker player and my partner in Risk On. He takes a lot of risks, Jason, don't you?
Sure, man. Whenever I see an opportunity to find a plus EV play, I like to exploit that, and I'm glad you have me on the show today.
And well, you're going to be on the show a lot. What do you mean today, dude? What the hell are you talking about?
Sorry.
So today, obviously, let's talk about the Dow real quick. We'll give a little update. The Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, this will kind of be our normal routine. But clearly today is silver, and so why don't you give us a quick update on the Dow?
You're right about that. Silver is definitely money. The Dow finished up 210 points today. It was a solid day. The S&P was up 1.4%, and the NASDAQ finished up 300, around 2.3%. Overall, there was a lot of good activity in the market. Obviously, silver was the lead play, and obviously we had the Wall Street bet scenario with the infamous GameStop and the AMC ticker.
So for those of you who are new to the concept of Risk On, I ran a hedge fund for many years, and I do a lot of activist investing, buy a lot of companies. And so that term risk on is something that I took on a long time ago, and that is I make really concentrated bets. And for me, risk on is a philosophy. It's sort of the way that I do business. It's boom bust, and it's been boom for a while. It's helped me exit. I put a lot of money into a company one time, and 9 years later got sold to Stryker for $120 million. I've had a couple big exits, and I've had some failures. But risk on is the philosophy, and right now risk on's on silver. Why don't you kind of explain to people what people are talking about with silver? Because it's kind of crazy. I see this Reddit, non-Reddit argument about what's happening with silver.
So yeah, silver, as it goes with Reddit, the actual forum, you've got a lot of people that are pro-silver and a lot of people that are against silver. What I found the main reason they're against silver right now is because they don't want to take away from the focus, which is GameStop, and their attack on the hedge funds. They want to really focus on the actual ticker GameStop. And the thing about silver is there's a couple different ways to attack it. You can attack it in the stock market, which is mainly the paper way to attack silver, but there's also a way where you can just purchase the outright metal from online retailers. And currently what we're seeing with the online retailers like AppMex, Provident Metals, BGASC, they're out of inventory. You can't find the precious metal silver to put away into your safe or at your home. So what's interesting is there's kind of a run on the precious metal silver right now. The spot silver price closed around $29 an ounce. What I'm seeing right now with the online retailers is if you wanted to try to get yourself a 1 ounce American silver round, if you could find it, you would be paying around $40 an ounce.
Do you be paying more than spot silver right now?
You'd be paying significantly more. Spot silver's $29.
So is it possible that the Reddit community has the power to buy that much silver, hard actual the metal, and get delivery in a way where you make it impossible to find silver?
It appears that that's what's happening right now. With the paper version, which we were talking about in the stock market, there are several ETFs that they've been buying options for, including the SLV index and the PSLV index, which is the Sprott Silver Fund. And currently what's happening is the options for February and March have got a lot of interest lately. So you're seeing a lot of speculation with the actual silver price. It's going to be increasing over the next couple of months. And there's geoeconomic reasons for that. We can break that down. We have $27 trillion currently, the national debt for the United States. We're printing currency at a record pace that no one's ever seen. So as a hedge against inflation and as a hedge against the overall markets, you're seeing a lot of interest in the actual purchasing of physical silver.
I might get this wrong, but I remember hearing this topic that it took us 250 some years to get to 21 trillion in debt. It took us 1 year to get to 27 trillion. Is that about it?
That is about it. In fact, yeah.
They're flooding the currency markets. We're awash of liquidity.
Absolutely.
So it would make sense that people want to play silver, but this Reddit phenomenon is pretty crazy. I've been doing this for 30 plus years. And I always thought there'd be one day where social media would match up. In fact, a long time ago, when they actually had a discovery brokerage, I always thought the commission should be like the same institutionally, because the very first trade I ever did in the market is I bought 1,000 shares from my client of IBM at 55 and was at 52 and 3/4, and I gave the guy a discount, a 49% discount, and his commission was over $500. Nowadays, it's free on Robinhood.
That's what you're seeing. The ability to have all of these millennials and Zoomers that are able to sit home and trade commission free. They're not exactly up to speed on what's going on, and they're just buying.
These guys. No, listen. I actually think they're smart. These retail guys on Robinhood. On Wall Street Bets.
Yeah.
What I'm reading is some of them are doing some crazy stuff, but a lot of them seem pretty educated. They seem to be digging into the filings and know what's going on, who's short, who's long, and who's trading. I mean, it's they're a force to be reckoned with. Since I've seen them last week, they went from about 2 point something million to over 6.5 or 6.4 million members. It's kind of crazy to see this much firepower, and you wonder if any of those hedge funds are infiltrating Wall Street Bets, and how you can tell whether the play is actually sponsored by if there's any kind of institutional trickery going on there. What do you think?
There's a couple of the big time educated traders on there, like Deep Effing Value. I don't know if I can say the F word. That guy is that guy is like a monster. Like, he has a huge following. He's explaining a lot of stuff, breakdown of all the shorts and the positions. He uses all the technical information like FinViz, and he does break down a lot of the details. So I think there are, though, some trolls in there, and some people that are infiltrated, definitely, that are looking for misdirection, trying to take people off of what they're focused on. So, yeah, you are seeing that more.
We could spend a lot of time on Wall Street Bets. There is some other news today. Wheels Up, obviously, is going to go public through a Spac. That's an interesting business. I actually had lunch with the CEO one time, and it's a really interesting business model. They're going to go public, $790 million in cash. It should close in the second quarter. I think the symbol's ASPL. Apple, Sam, Paul, Larry. We'll put that up on the screen for you if it's possible. And that's an interesting sort of M&A transaction. That's one of many SPACs happening. I think the SPAC that bought them was formed by someone else from LVMH, so kind of a consumer luxury brand business. If I recall, Serena Williams, Lance Armstrong, and others are sponsors of that business. So that's pretty interesting to see that some anti-airline stock. They're really obviously smaller jets, that kind of thing. I think prop planes going public for about $2.1 billion. So that's an interesting transaction. I know that you want to talk about Sundial, and I guess we gotta talk about that real quickly. And later on, we'll have more conversation in the show. The first 15 minutes of the show is obviously to talk about the markets. Before we get to Sundial, though, I think GameStop closed down 30% or so. Where'd you see it?
Around 30%.
What's the closing price that you see?
Let's take a look at the actual closing price right now. The after-hours activity seems to be down also. It looks like it was down 30%, down $100 a share.
Down $100 a share.
Yeah.
I would say that, listen, I for all the hate mail I would get out there, you're starting to see that kind of volatility. You can kind of see it breaking down a little bit. I don't know if it'll break down. I saw Ja Rule on CNBC. When you start to get the celebrities on there talking about things like this, with everybody in there, this is a scary sign for all of you. My 15-year-old daughter came up to me last week and said, "Dad, you should see what's going on with Reddit and GameStop and this thing called Wall Street Bets." And that's when there was like under 3 million members. So my 15-year-old daughter's in the mix here, looking at trading stocks, looking at GameStop. It's usually a fairly scary sign that everyone and their mother's kind of in the trade, right?
And like you said, Wall Street Bets now is over 7.5 million members.
Oh, wow, really?
7.5.
So that's another million since just a couple days ago.
It's incredible. So it looks like Sundial is 1.5 billion volume in trades today. That's incredible. I've never seen a number
That's
that
a cannabis stock out of Canada,
yes,
right? And
exactly.
really well traded. They raised a lot of money. Didn't they raise in January over $100 million, or was it $50 million?
Yeah, I think it was $100 million. They're actually that's closed. They are exclusively in Canada right now.
Right.
They're looking for probably ways to get in the door in the United States as more states pass and regulate marijuana.
You've been talking about that stock for as long as I think I've known you.
I've had that stock.
And then you had this AUM or whatever it was.
AUMN, Golden Minerals. Another was an exploratory silver miner. They actually landed a property in Durango province in Mexico, and they are now mining. They had a nice jump today. I was long on that one for 48 cents. It actually touched $1.30 today, and I exited my position.
Keep in mind, we're not recommending any stocks here. This show is really important. We talk about them. There's no recommendations. If we own them, we'll tell you. Jason, you did own that, right?
I did, absolutely.
Right. Did you sell that?
Yes.
All right. So you're out of that position now.
I am currently out of that position.
That made a pretty big move.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the. Is it possible to bring up on the chart the GameStop trade? So this thing is pure. Can you click the 5-day for me, please? So you see the below there. Just click the 5-day.
Look at this thing.
Yeah. So you see this thing forming a little bit. I mean, I'm a poor chartist. I know when something's a cup with a handle. I know when it's breaking out. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, obviously you can see where the interest was from GameStop, or from from Wall Street Bets, and you can look and see in the most recent 5 days, you can see the run up. I think it ran up, if I'm correct, it went up to $483.
Sure, I saw that. I saw that either intraday or pre-market.
I mean, it's just amazing. So that's what Wall Street's afraid of. You're looking at a group of traders, some educated, some not, some hopping on the bandwagon on the Wall Street Bets, and as the interest grew within the stock, obviously the price action showed it. So.
It was crazy. We're going to talk about VAR, or value at risk, in the second half of the show. One thing I see is a lot of people really attacking Robinhood, and while I'm not taking sides on this, as a guy who owned a former broker-dealer, has invested in them before, it's a tricky situation with NSCC and the Depository Trust Corporation, and people don't understand that when a stock gets really volatile, like 100 points a day, the broker-dealer sometimes has to post up 2 and 3 times the amount of capital that's traded for the day. And Robinhood today raised $2.4 billion additional dollars on top of the $1 billion they raised last week, and they need that money because, unfortunately, with Dodd-Frank and some of the rules out there, they have to deposit that value at risk at the DTC and NSCC. They have to deposit that money. They get it back in 2 days of settlement, and they can't actually use the money in your account, which is a problem. And I think regulatory-wise, the people should channel their focus on their frustration at the regulations of why they let broker-dealers have to put up capital with this volatility when the money's simply sitting in the account. Makes no sense to me. I know we're going to have an expert next week talk about this topic, because this happens to broker-dealers, and Robinhood's pretty well capitalized. That is a lot of money at risk. Anyways, hey, that was a good first 15 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, the moral of it is an up day today. It was a risk-on day today. Sundial, what do you think you see for tomorrow? I
think Sundial is going to close. Actually, I'm looking at it right now. It's up 48% on the day. It looks like there's a lot of volume after hours. I think a lot of traders are going to hold this ticker overnight.
Wow. So that's Sundial's the risky trade today. That's the risk-on trade today. I'm a little leery of GameStop. If it were me, I would be like, that's just pure on absolute gambling. And I know, listen, the Wall Street Bets crowd's done an amazing job. They're really smart people, and they clearly got behind this, but there's a point in time where you got to look at something and say, what is it really worth? I always say this to people: in the short term, Wall Street is a voting machine. In the long term, it's a weighing machine, and they'll weigh out the value eventually as to what GameStop's worth. There's really nothing you can do about it long term, right? Short term, though, anything happens. All right, hey, we'll be back to you. We're going to talk about a couple interesting topics in the second half, and we'll see you shortly.